Kuapishwa hii ya Mheshimiwa Raila, wengine walikuwa na uoga ndani yake na hawakutaka kuonekana wanataka hiyo mambo, ni kama walikuwa wanaona kama watashikwa na treason.
One, we said that we had to challenge the deep state to the levels they had never been taken to before.
Our swearing in was a protest because the government had refused totally to sit down with us and negotiate on the way forward after the fiasco of the repeat election.
We have not individually and collectively delegated our sovereignty to Uhuru Kenyatta.
Somewhere along the line, policemen just disappeared. And they let the crowd take control, and it was hectic. And it was palpable. You could feel it. You could feel it from the people. And then now we had to be able to reconfigure ourselves, because we were planning in a situation in which we were going to be adversarial with the police. But now suddenly we had another plan on this area in which now police are withdrawn. And we were in constant discussion with the people's president. And then, of course, now, as you know, problems came amongst the principals. I told you this thing needs balls, Duncan. These things needed balls. And balls shrank that day. And so we were spanned because we had now to configure what happens when these fellows are not coming. And suddenly, the people's president himself called and said, I'm on my way, I'm coming. Get everything ready. Actually, he called me. And so I had to refresh my Bible. We had to look for the small desks, and we had to make sure that the recitation was proper. And we had to make sure that everything which goes on with the oath was in place.
We didn't know what the plan of the government was, because when they decided now we go to Uhuru Park, there's nothing, there's no blockage, there's nothing. We were imagining these guys maybe they want to ambush us when Raila arrives, and they could do that. In other countries you see even tangas coming, but we were prepared. We said if we are dying for Kenya, we will on that day.
So the police had withdrawn. 4 TV channels, KTN, Citizen, NTV and Inoro, had been switched off by government after defying orders against live transmission of the oathing ceremony. Uhuru Park was packed to capacity. The venue was teeming with tens of hundreds of NASA supporters. By 2 p.m., none of the 4 NASA principals had arrived. It was after 2:30 when Raila Odinga stormed the venue, dressed in the same outfit he had 2 days earlier on Sunday, ready to take the same oath.
I think there is a misconception that there was a particular choice on TJ to be the Chief Justice. That morning, there was news that was given out to all lawyers in NASA fraternity to turn up to Uhuru Park dressed in robes, official regalia. And I took it seriously, because I knew that I had work to do. I didn't know that I would be the only one who would turn up amongst all the lawyers that we had. But as you know, we have been doing a lot of background work in all these things.
Nairobi hoye! Ni nafasi yangu sasa bila kupoteza wakati kumkaribisha Baba Raila Amolo Odinga aje afanye matarajio ambayo tumetarajia leo. Karibu baba.
The hour had come. The man of the moment had arrived. Supporters were waiting.
Well, I must admit, I felt a pinch of bile rise on my throat. I also had a bad ache in the tummy, but I also had an amount of adrenaline gush in my system. Then I could feel myself no more because it had to be done, and it didn't matter now. I think I reached the point it was needless to ask me not to do it. We got it done. We knew the people's president was going to come because he called me. He said he was coming. We had in fact, we would have been stunned that Raila didn't come. I don't know how we would have lived. That Raila did not turn up. But we knew he has never failed us. He's a general who commands us from the front. So we were very confident that he was going to come. But yes, the heat, the sweat that got it all, that avowment to do something at a point when all odds seem to indicate on the contrary. I don't want to take credit about it, but I think I had sufficient adrenaline that could move mountains at that time.
It was time to administer the oath, and stepping forward were advocates Miguna Miguna and TJ Kajwang. 3 NASA principals were missing in action. Nonetheless, it was time for execution.
I, Raila Amolo Odinga.
Duncan, this thing requires balls. We may have 2 of them, but they can shrink. I think that day they shrank substantially. Yes, of course we knew the consequences. Yes, of course I know the consequences. I've practiced law for a very long time to know the consequences of what we are doing. But remember, we had set up ourselves and promised this country that we were ready to pay the sacrifice. I mean, people have done this before us. Ochuka had done his bit before us. Anyona had done his bit before us. Pancras Oteo did his bit before us. And so we were ready to take the gamut. And let me tell you, if opportunity presents itself in different circumstances with facts, TJ Kajwang, yours truthfully, TJ Kajwang will not fail you. That's the duty, that's the nature of public duty. When it calls, I say present, sir, and I wear my uniform. When now Raila said it was electric, it had been done, I felt some warmth and a level of satisfaction and coolness that it is done. So it doesn't matter. And I felt that now we are at the new throes of liberating this country. The kind of things that you do and you say, Kesi Badai, that was where Kesi Badai comes in. Yes.
You must have somebody who can take the bullet. And Raila was there and ready to take the bullet. And, I think if anybody, including myself, that can think of such a thing, it's unheard of. That you can actually come in a clearing daylight, being defiant, and you face the camera and take the Bible and swear yourself in as a president. If it was somewhere else, somebody would have died there and then, and it would have been very bad. But that is it. Raila Odinga is an institution. It's not just a person that you can just wish him away like that.
However, the oathing took place past 2:30 p.m. and not between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. as set out in the law.
We had agreed that the swearing in would have to take place by 2 o'clock because constitutionally the swearing in of a president has to be done by 2 o'clock. I reached Uhuru Park about 10:30 and started waiting for Raila, Orengo and Wanjigi. Before 2 o'clock, after I had waited for hours and I was just talking to the youth, Raila called me and said that he had been told that if he took the oath before 2 o'clock, he would be charged with treason. So it seemed that as if he was scared of treason. And this surprised me because he had already said that he was ready to die and that he was ready to sacrifice his life for the liberation of Kenya. And in a rally in Homa Bay, he did exactly that. He also said that he was ready to face treason and to go to jail for life. So I was a bit shocked, and there was a lot of pressure that Raila had to take the oath by 2 p.m. He came after 3:30 p.m. and so I administered the oath. I was the one with the oath, and I was the one with the stamp, my commission stamps. Unfortunately, Raila had forgotten the Bible that I had used to swear him in the previous Sunday at his home. He also forgot the pen. In fact, they came completely unprepared, but we managed.
Not cowards to have done something outside the time just because we wanted to be genius about this or be clever about this. If you go back to that day, you know, today, as somebody is looking at it, you may not appreciate it much, but the bile, the tension, the force which were at war, I have never been stretched to that limit in my legal career. Never. Not in my political career. When one has to make very hard decisions without the benefit of time, when one has to debate with himself what is conscience and what is politically expedient, and conscience take control over what is politically expedient, it is a whole ballgame. But you remember that up to 11 o'clock, the stadium, Uhuru Park, was swarmed by policemen. And there was information that it was deliberate and people were going to be closed inside and people were going to be killed like